Hello students, welcome to MediaEffects on Communication Behavior, COM525. We are in week 7, and this week our primary focus will be on the third person effect within MediaEffects theories and things of that nature. If you look at our agenda, we are reading through 2 chapters, chapter 12 and chapter 14. We're going to primarily focus our efforts on chapter 12, which deals with mass media, social perception, and the third person effect. It provides some really interesting information that's very relevant to our course this week. In addition, you will be watching 2 TED Talks that talk about pop culture in the Arab world, as well as the power and danger in online crowds. This really will enhance your ideas of the third person effect, as well as another theory we will be going through this week. You have a handful of things you will be doing this week. You have 2 items due on Thursday. Those are your critical review number 4 and discussion board number 4, as well as their reply posts due on Sunday. And then you have critical assignment your outline due. So the critical assignment portion that's due this week is your outline. And what that will help you with is to really kind of formulate your thoughts about what you feel for the outline and the direction you plan to take with your critical assignment. If you can see on Blackboard, there's an attached PDF that provides some very valuable information about your outline and how you should lay it out, so do read through that. In addition, your outline will include an introduction, a review of your literature, rationale, method and data section, and significance of study section, as well as all the references you have to date in there. I'm anticipating your outline itself will be a page or 2, maybe max, on what your paper is going to look like, and with not including your reference section. That is due on Sunday. For your critical review number 4, you'll be creating a visual critical review or a video critical review. So it has all the elements of all of our other critical reviews, except this time you will be creating a video, Prezi, VoiceThread, Screencast-O-Matic, or YouTube. No PowerPoints allowed unless it's embedded into the video portion of your review. And you do need to have audio portion with that. So if you utilize Prezi, do consider those implications as well. So it's the same as all your other critical reviews, except it's a video one. Remember, you need to post your presentation to the discussion board no later than Thursday, and your replies with no less than 300 words are due by Sunday. Additionally, discussion board number 4 asks you to read the article developed by Gratex, which is on symbiotic transformations, youth, global media, and indigenous culture in Malta. It's a really fascinating piece that looks at how the Maltese youth illustrate the complexity of global media and look at this idea of active agency of global consumers. So you'll answer the questions that are listed. There are 5 questions to answer. 4 questions to answer. You do need to make sure you support all of your assertions with outside text and things of that nature, preferably 2 to 3 sources. Once you've answered all of the questions, you do need to post that by Thursday and reply to at least 300 students. 3 other students with about 300 word responses, not 300. Remember, the replies are due by Sunday, but your original post is due Thursday. I wanted to give you some perspectives on uses and gratifications theory. This instrumental theory within MediaEffects is really important to understand as we get into third person effects. So I wanted to give some review just to make sure you understand it if you have not already within the course, and to understand that Bloomer and Katz developed this mediated theory to look at the idea that media users play an active role in choosing and using media. It was landmark and revolutionary at the time when they found this out in the 70s to say that users take an active part in the communication process and utilize media in a goal-oriented fashion. Really, they determined that media users seek out media sources that will best fulfill the needs of the user. They always have an alternative choice to satisfy their mediated needs if that particular media source is not available. And there are many reasons for using or consuming media from a consumer perspective. Really, what was fascinating about what Bloomer and Katz developed was that media users utilize this idea of free will to decide how they will use media and how it affects them. Up until this point, we were under the assumptions of magic bullet theory, which is that hypodermic needle theory where you can inject mediated thoughts into the minds of consumers to believe, or agenda setting, where you can't tell them what to think, but you can tell them what to talk about and what to think about. And what Uses and Gratz really found out was that we exercise free will from a media consumption perspective to decide how we will use media and how it's going to affect us. Very, very profound. When we take that and we look into the third person effect, which Davison and Teach came up with, we kind of took these ideas of uses and grats to a whole nother level. What we found is we found out in uses and gratifications that we utilize media in a way and we control how it affects us and how we're going to consume that, right? We look at that uses and gratifications effect within media as a consumer. But the third person effect told us that media also acts as a third person in our lives. It determined that outright we agree that many media consumers believe that mass media influences others considerably, but considerably more than themselves. So we think of ourselves as a third person. We identify with and we understand, oh yes, we would outright say mass media influences a lot of things within society and considerably influences other people. It doesn't influence me though. That's this idea of third person effect, that we are exempt from this idea of media influence. We're too savvy to be influenced by media, but we acknowledge that media is highly influential. It really set up media effects and influences in this kind of paradoxical situation. We tend to, from a scholarly perspective, examine beliefs about media, not the media effects on beliefs. So from a scholarly perspective, if you were going to use this in your research proposal for your critical assignment or something like that, you would need to examine what are the beliefs of media effects by X group or whatever it is. What do children think about how media affects them? Third person effect looks at that. What are people's beliefs about how media can affect society, not media effects on particular personal beliefs and such. It also assumes that perceptions of media trivial behavioral effects in media consumers, and one of the strongest media influences the presumption that media has influences on one another, or it's influential in some way. So since consumers agree that mediated messages are highly influential on others, they strive to take action to attempt to counteract a message's potential influence. So they think very actively and critically about something, and so then they can justify and assume that media doesn't influence them because I understand how influential it is. So I'm going to counteract that effect by not just listening to that news story. I'm going to read it in the paper and read it here and read it there. What we fail to realize is we're consuming other forms of media to justify the effects media has on us, which is very important to keep in mind. So this idea of third person effects really bases this has been operated probably throughout human history. Remember, media is not old. There's always been forms of media, oral media, written media, things like that. We've passed on information from orators and things of that nature. We have just been more sophisticated in the last 50, 60 years or so with our communication technologies that have helped close and create that global village. So when people's experiences of the world were limited to the contours of their communities and their life space was restricted to little towns in which they grew up, there was no possibility for opinions to spiral out and influence the world at large. However, we know that's different today. Public opinion exerts a significant impact on social behavior and affects mass and elite decisions. So really, perceptions of public opinion can have a direct and indirect ripple effect within certain aspects of society. What happens is that this happens no matter what. This third person effect is happening where consumers believe, and they believe that mass media is influential, but they stop short of saying it's influential on them. And that's really what we're looking at from that perspective. So as we look through some things within this week, keep in mind uses and gratifications, keep in mind this third person effect. Watch the TED Talks after you've read about the theory so you can start to see maybe where some of these come into play. Construct your critical review by Thursday, as well as your discussion board number 4, which is directly related to the theories we've talked about, and get your critical assignment outline in on Sunday. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me, and I pray that you all have a blessed week. Hang in there. We're almost done with the semester. We only have one more week after this, so we're on the home stretch, and you all have been doing great. God bless.